What if I told you that the people you call friends today could either take you to Jannah or drag you into Jahannam? That one phone call, one hangout, one bro, just try it once moment could change the entire course of your life? Peer pressure is invisible. You can't touch it. You can't see it. But you can feel it pressing down on you like a heavy weight. It makes you laugh at a joke you don't actually find funny. It makes you say yes when your heart is screaming no. It makes you do things you promised Allah you'd never do. And most of the time, you don't even realize it's happening. Let me ask you this. Have you ever done something just because everyone else was doing it? Maybe it was skipping Salah because your friend said, "We'll pray later." Maybe it was listening to gossip because silence felt awkward. Or maybe it was posting something online you knew wasn't appropriate, because you didn't want to be the boring one. We've all been there. And that's the scary part. Peer pressure doesn't knock at your door and say, "Hey, I'm here to ruin your life." It comes disguised as friendship, as fun, as belonging. And that's why the Prophet warned us so clearly. He said, "A person is upon the religion of his close friend, so let one of you look at whom he befriends." Think about that for a second. Your best friend today is shaping your faith, your habits, your destiny. If your closest circle drags you to haram, don't be surprised when you start sinking too. But if your circle pulls you toward Allah, you'll find yourself rising higher than you ever thought possible. I want you to imagine this. You're on a train. Every single person on that train is heading to one destination. If you're sitting with a group that's headed for destruction, it doesn't matter if you personally want paradise, you're still on their train. The only way to get off is to choose different company. And here's the beautiful secret. Good company is not boring. Good company is not strict. Good company is your shield. They are the people who remind you to pray when the world tells you to forget. They are the people who celebrate your wins without envy. They are the ones who love you enough to stop you when you're about to fall. They are the ones who will stand next to you on the day of judgment and testify that you tried. Let me share a story. I once knew a brother who got caught up in the wrong crowd. It started small, missing prayers, skipping classes, staying out late. Nothing big, right? But the train was moving fast. A few years later, he was in jail. When I asked him what went wrong, he said, "Wallahi, I just wanted to fit in. I never thought it would go this far." One choice led to another. One friend turned his life upside down. But I also knew a sister who made the opposite choice. She left a toxic group of friends who mocked her hijab and prayer. She found a new circle in her local masjid. They weren't perfect, but they supported her. They encouraged her. Today, she's a leader in her community, inspiring hundreds of others. One choice, one circle, a completely different destiny. So let me ask you, who's on your train? Who's sitting at your table? Who's holding your hand while you walk through this life? Are they pushing you closer to Allah or pulling you further away? Because here's the truth. You don't rise to the level of your intentions. You fall to the level of your environment. That's why Islam emphasizes choosing good company. Because no matter how strong you think you are, your circle is stronger. And tonight, I want you to make a decision. To look at your phone, your chat groups, your hangout spots, and ask yourself, is this company leading me to Allah or away from Him? And if the answer scares you, then maybe that's the sign you've been waiting for. You were not created to blend in with the crowd. You were created to stand out with the believers. To be part of a circle that uplifts, inspires, and protects. To be part of a legacy that outlives you. So choose wisely. Because when the day comes and every soul stands alone, the only friends you'll wish you had are the ones who pulled you closer to Allah. And remember this, haram friendships feel good now, but they burn later. Pure friendships may test you now, but they shine forever. Choose light. Choose faith. Choose wisely. Because you, my friend, you're worth more than peer pressure. You're worth pure love, pure faith, and pure company. And if you walk away with just one thing tonight, let it be this. Show me your friends, and I'll show you your future. ***6 key takeaways****. Peer pressure is powerful, invisible, and often unnoticed until it's too late. Your close friends shape your habits, beliefs, and ultimate destiny. The Prophet taught that we become like those we spend time with. Bad company can drag you into destruction. Good company lifts you toward Allah. You don't rise to your intentions. You fall to your environment. Pure, faith-centered friendships are the real protection in this life and the next. Imagine walking into a room full of people your age, everyone laughing, smiling, talking, doing things that at first glance seem harmless. Someone cracks a joke that mocks a religious practice, and everyone laughs, so you laugh too, even though something inside your chest feels heavy. Someone suggests skipping prayer because we are already late, and Allah will forgive us anyway, and though your heart whispers no, your lips stay silent because you don't want to be the odd one out. This is how peer pressure works. It doesn't arrive with a warning label. It slips in silently, dressed as friendship, fun, or belonging, until you find yourself saying yes to things you once promised you'd never touch. It's the invisible current that pulls you when you're not paying attention, and before you realize it, you're not standing where you thought you were. The dangerous thing about peer pressure is how subtle it is. It's not always about grand, dramatic choices. It's often the tiny ones. Laughing at something you shouldn't. Scrolling through what you know is harmful because everyone else is sharing it. Staying silent when someone belittles faith. One small compromise opens the door for the next, and slowly, without even realizing, your standards shift. What once made you uncomfortable now feels normal. What once pricked your conscience now barely stirs your heart. And this is exactly why it is so dangerous. It shapes you without your permission, unless you become conscious of it. The Prophet gave us a profound truth when he said, "A person is upon the religion of his close friend, so let one of you look at whom he befriends." This hadith is not just a reminder, it's a warning. It tells us that human beings are naturally influenced by their company, whether they admit it or not. No one is immune. You could think, "I'm strong, I won't be affected." But the truth is, even the strongest hearts bend when surrounded by the wrong crowd. Imagine a perfume seller and a blacksmith. The Prophet gave this analogy. If you spend time with the perfume seller, you either come away with perfume, or at the very least, you leave smelling good. If you spend time with a blacksmith, you either get burned, or you walk away with the smell of smoke clinging to your clothes. Company leaves its mark, whether you like it or not. Think about the times when you wanted to make a change in your life. Maybe you wanted to pray on time, start reading Quran, or leave behind a bad habit. Did you notice how hard it was to do that if your friends weren't on the same path? One brother once shared how he struggled to quit smoking. He said, "I tried everything, but as long as I sat with the same group of friends, I couldn't stop. The moment I distanced myself and joined a circle at the masjid, the habit broke in weeks." His environment had been the lock holding him down, and the moment he changed it, he found the key to freedom. The weight of peer pressure can also be seen in young people who fall into sins not out of desire, but out of fear of being left out, fear of ridicule, fear of being called too religious or boring. How many have said yes to harem relationships, drugs, or neglecting their faith not because they truly wanted to, but because they didn't want to lose acceptance? And yet, ironically, the same people they compromise their values for are rarely there when life gets hard. Real friends don't push you toward regret. They don't test your loyalty to Allah. They protect it. Now, imagine the opposite. Imagine sitting with people who, when prayer time arrives, gently remind you, "Let's go, it's time for Salah." Imagine friends who say, "I know you're struggling, but don't give up, Allah is most merciful." Imagine people who celebrate your small steps of faith, who don't laugh when you stutter in Quran recitation but instead encourage you with warmth. This is the power of the right environment. It lifts you, molds you, strengthens you. It turns your small sparks into a flame. Peer pressure, then, is not just about saying no to bad company. It's also about saying yes to good company. It's about realizing that you are not meant to fight the struggles of this life alone. Allah created us to be influenced by others, but He gave us the choice of who those others will be. Every person you let into your inner circle is either a rope pulling you closer to Jannah or a chain dragging you toward destruction. And the scariest part? Most people only realize the weight of those choices when it's too late, when the consequences are already unfolding. So the next time you find yourself laughing at something your heart knows is wrong, or silent when your faith is belittled, or tempted to compromise because everyone else is doing it, pause. Ask yourself, is this moment worth the weight it carries on my soul? Is this group worth sacrificing my peace, my values, my akhirah? Because no laugh, no friendship, no temporary belonging is worth losing eternal joy. And peer pressure, though it feels powerful, only has as much control as you allow it to. Once you see it for what it really is, once you name it, you take back that power. There is something powerful about the silence of the heart when you're around certain people. You feel it, don't you? Some friends leave you restless, doubting yourself, questioning whether you're doing enough, while others leave you with a sense of peace, as if your heart just prayed even though your lips said nothing. This is the difference between people who pull you toward Allah and people who pull you away. It's not always in the big things. Sometimes it's in the way they speak, the way they remind you of Allah without even mentioning His name, or the way they respect the limits of faith without making you feel judged. Deep down, every one of us knows the kind of company that nourishes our soul and the kind that poisons it. The real challenge is having the courage to choose. The Quran paints this picture with clarity. Allah tells us in Surah Al-Furqan about the regret of the disbelievers who will cry out on the Day of Judgment, saying, "Woe to me! I wish I had not taken that person as a friend. He led me away from the reminder after it had come to me." Imagine the sting of that regret, realizing too late that the voices you allowed into your life were the very voices that led you astray. This is not a faraway story, it's the reality that plays out daily. A teenager who once prayed 5 times a day stops because his group of friends never cared to pause for salah. A sister who used to dress modestly slowly changes her way of dressing because a circle convinced her that covering properly is old-fashioned. A young man who is close to the Quran now spends his nights at gatherings filled with music, gossip, and distractions because that's what his friends live for. One choice at a time, one compromise at a time, and soon the path looks completely different. But Allah in His mercy doesn't just warn us about the danger, He gives us the antidote. The Prophet said, "The example of a good companion and a bad companion is that of the seller of musk and the one who blows the bellows." The musk seller either gives you some perfume, or you buy from him, or at least you come away with a pleasant fragrance. As for the one who blows the bellows, he either burns your clothes, or you come away with a bad smell. It's such a vivid image that you can almost smell it. You can almost feel the difference. One environment leaves you radiant, uplifted, and smelling good even without trying. The other leaves you tainted, carrying stains that you never intended to pick up. Think of it like walking through 2 different gardens. In one, the air is filled with roses, birds singing, the sun warming your face. You feel alive, refreshed, hopeful. In the other, smoke fills the sky, thorns scrape your skin, and every breath is heavy. You feel drained, dark, and restless. That's what your friends are, gardens you walk through daily, gardens that slowly shape your heart without you even realizing. I once heard a young man share his story. He had been caught up in drugs, clubbing, and every form of distraction. When asked what made him change, he said, "I didn't change because of a lecture. I didn't change because someone forced me. I changed because I walked into a masjid one day with a friend, and the group I met there treated me like a brother. They didn't judge me for my past. They reminded me of prayer, they laughed with me, they checked on me. That circle became my safe place. And little by little, I couldn't go back to the old life." His transformation wasn't sparked by rules or fear. It was sparked by love, by friendship that pulled him toward goodness, by company that felt like fresh air after years of smoke. This is why choosing your company isn't a casual decision, it's life-defining. The people you allow into your inner world will either be the ones who remind you of your purpose or the ones who make you forget it. They will either make sin easy and faith heavy, or they will make faith sweet and sin unbearable. And the truth is, you don't always realize who is shaping you until time has passed, until habits have been formed, until your path is already altered. That's why the wise choose carefully from the start. So, pause and think about the ones closest to you. Do they make it easier for you to pray, to remember Allah, to grow as a believer? Or do they make it harder, filling your hours with distractions, jokes that kill your modesty, and habits that cloud your heart? Because every gathering leaves an imprint, every conversation plants a seed, and every friend is either a shield on your path to Jannah or a chain dragging you in the opposite direction. And perhaps the most comforting truth is this: when you let go of the wrong people for the sake of Allah, Allah replaces them with better. He fills the emptiness with companions whose presence is a blessing, whose friendship is worship, whose reminders are gentle ropes pulling you closer to Him. You never lose by leaving bad company. You only gain, even if the gain feels heavy at first. There is a saying that if you walk with the wise, you become wise, but if you walk with the careless, you fall with them. Islam reminds us of this truth in countless ways, because the heart is like soft clay, it takes the shape of the hands that press on it. The Quran and Sunnah constantly remind us that what surrounds you shapes what is within you, and what is within you eventually shapes your destiny. One of the clearest examples is in the Hadith where the Prophet said, "A person is upon the religion of his close friend, so let one of you look at whom he befriends. It is such a simple sentence, but its weight is immense. It tells us that no matter how strong you believe yourself to be, your heart will reflect the company you keep. If they pray, you will be softened toward prayer. If they gossip, your tongue will get used to gossip. If they love Allah, your heart will incline toward Him. If they mock His commands, slowly you will begin to laugh with them. It's like standing in a room of incense or smoke. You don't walk out unchanged. Think of the story of Abu Talib, the uncle of the Prophet. He supported the Prophet, defended him, loved him dearly, but at the time of death, the people around him, leaders of Quraysh, kept whispering, reminding him of his pride, his forefathers, his old ways. The Prophet himself was at his side, telling him to say the words of faith, but the pressure of the company around him weighed heavier, and he chose silence over the declaration of belief. Imagine that moment, having the messenger of Allah calling you to salvation, but the presence of misguided companions still stronger than your own heart. This story is not just history, it is a warning that even at the final moment of life, the influence of those around us can tip the scale. When you surround yourself with people who live heedlessly, it becomes harder to stay awake. Their habits become your habits. Their normal becomes your normal. And in the same way, when you surround yourself with people who live with purpose, you naturally rise to that purpose. I remember hearing about a young sister who said she struggled for years to wear the hijab. She wanted to, but every time she tried, her friends mock her, saying it didn't suit her, that it was unnecessary. Then she moved to a new environment where her closest circle were sisters who wore it proudly. She said, "I didn't even notice when I stopped feeling shy about it. I just wanted to be like them, and their encouragement gave me the strength I was missing." Her story shows that sometimes what we think is an inner weakness is really just the shadow of the people around us. The Prophet also emphasized this when he said, "The believer is a mirror to his brother." Think about that image. A mirror reflects what you show it. If you smile into it, it smiles back. If you frown, it frowns. That is the role of true companions. They reflect your flaws to you with sincerity, and they reflect your good qualities to you with encouragement. They don't distort the truth. They don't lie to keep you comfortable. They don't abandon you when you slip. Instead, they hold up the mirror so you can see yourself clearly, and then they stand beside you as you grow. Contrast that with false friends, the ones who watch you fall into mistakes and laugh. The ones who know your weakness and exploit it. The ones who call your sins normal so they feel less guilty about their own. They are not mirrors, they are smoke. They cloud your vision, blur your conscience, and leave you stumbling in the dark. And when the time comes that you need real support, they vanish. I once heard a man say that his life changed the day he realized that his friends only called him when it was time to waste time. "They never called me to pray," he said. "They never asked about my health. They only called when they wanted distraction." That realization cut him deeply, because he saw that what he called friendship was really just chains disguised as laughter. From that day, he began seeking out companions who reminded him of Allah, and he said it was like replacing poison with medicine. This is why the Prophet made dua asking Allah for righteous companions, for friends who bring you closer to Him. Because no matter how strong you think you are, no matter how much knowledge or willpower you carry, the people beside you will either water your faith or dry it out. And the scariest part is that you often don't see the effect until years later, when your life has already been shaped by the people you allowed in. So the question is not whether you will be influenced, you will. The real question is, who have you given that power to? Are you surrounded by those who remind you of your akira or those who make you forget it? Are your friends mirrors that reflect truth, or are they smoke that blinds your heart? Because in the end, the company you choose today might be the very company that shapes how you leave this world, and how you stand before Allah tomorrow. Sometimes we underestimate just how much our hearts are shaped by the people we let close. We think we are in control, that we can stand firm no matter the crowd, but the truth is that influence is like water dripping onto stone. At first it seems small, but over time it carves deep marks. Islam teaches us that faith is not built in isolation. It is strengthened or weakened by those we spend our lives with. The Prophet told us, "A man follows the religion of his friend, so each one should consider whom he makes his friend." This hadith is not just about prayer or rituals. It is about how your company can shape the very lens through which you see the world. Imagine two young men living side by side. One spends his evenings with friends who invite him to the masjid, who pause conversations when the adhan is called, who gently remind him, "Brother, don't forget to read Quran tonight." The other spends his nights with companions who encourage him to waste hours scrolling, laughing at things that darken the heart, normalizing sin as if it were just a lifestyle choice. A year passes. The first young man finds prayer natural, his heart softened, his mind at peace. The second finds prayer heavy, guilt-numb, and his conscience quiet. The difference is not in intelligence, not in strength, not even in desire. It is in company. Allah describes in the Quran a terrifying scene of regret when those who chose bad companions will cry, "Oh, woe to me! I wish I had not taken that one as a friend. He led me away from the remembrance after it had come to me." These are not the words of criminals in some faraway land. These are the cries of ordinary people who let their friendships define their choices until it was too late. The truth is, many of us are walking that path in small ways right now, but we do not see it until the consequences weigh too heavy. A sister once shared her story of how her circle of friends mocked her when she first tried to wear the hijab. They told her she looked too old, that it was unnecessary in today's world, that she was making life difficult for no reason. At first, she resisted, but the constant laughter wore her down. Slowly, she removed it, telling herself it was only temporary. Years later, she admitted she felt like something inside her had been stolen. She didn't realize how powerful those voices had been until the silence of her own heart was louder. What she needed was not people who drag her backward, but people who would have held her hand forward. On the other side, I remember a brother who struggled with addiction. He said, "I tried to quit 100 times, but as long as I sat with the same group of people, I could not let go. The day I distanced myself and joined a group at the masjid, it was like the chains broke." His story was not about willpower, it was about environment. He didn't need to become a different person, he needed to be around different people. And that shift gave him the strength he thought he lacked all along. This is why Islam emphasizes the value of good company as a shield. Good friends are not just casual companions, they are protectors of your faith, guardians of your soul. They are the ones who remind you when you forget, who hold you steady when you stumble, who pray for you when you don't even know it. They are the ones who, when you are tempted to choose the easy path of sin, become the voice of conscience that says, "Don't trade your akhirah for a moment of this dunya." Their presence alone makes you want to be better, not out of fear, but out of love. Think of the Prophet's companions. What made them extraordinary was not just their individual faith, but the way they lifted one another. When one weakened, the other strengthened him. When one erred, the other reminded him. Their brotherhood was a fortress that preserved their deen. And that is what we are called to build today, not just friendships, but fortresses. So reflect, who are the people who occupy your space? Do they inspire you to be closer to Allah, or do they make His remembrance feel heavy? Do they celebrate your growth, or do they mock your efforts? Because every day, your soul is being shaped, either toward the fragrance of faith or the stench of heedlessness. And though you may not notice the changes today, there will come a day when the difference is undeniable. The beauty of Allah's mercy is that it is never too late to choose again. You can step away from what harms and walk toward what heals. You can decide today to seek out those who make your path to Jannah easier, even if it means walking away from circles that feel comfortable. And when you do, you will find what many before you have found, that the weight you carried alone becomes lighter when shared with people who remind you of Allah, and that the journey of faith becomes less of a struggle and more of a blessing when your companions are walking it beside you. There is a powerful reality that many of us overlook, and it is this: the people you surround yourself with today are shaping the memories you will carry into your grave. Friends are not just for laughter, for outings, or for passing time. They are either pulling you closer to Allah or slowly, silently pushing you away from Him. And what makes this even more serious is that sometimes the difference between paradise and hellfire lies in the companionship you choose. The Prophet said, "The example of a good companion and a bad companion is like that of the seller of musk and the blacksmith. The seller of musk will either give you some perfume, or you will buy some from him, or at the very least you will smell a pleasant fragrance. As for the blacksmith, he will either burn your clothes, or you will be affected by his foul smell." Think about this for a moment. You may not notice the impact of sitting with someone for an hour, but the fragrance or the stench stays with you long after you leave. Imagine a young man who spends most of his time with friends who never mention Allah. Their conversations revolve around gossip, money, trends, and distractions. They invite him to places where sin feels normal, where the heart becomes numb, where prayer is forgotten until the night passes. Over time, his own tongue grows silent in remembrance. He used to feel guilty for missing Salah, but now he shrugs it off as though it were nothing. He used to feel uneasy when haram was mentioned, but now he laughs along. Nothing happened in one day, It was a slow erosion, like a stone worn down by constant dripping water. Compare this with another young man who surrounds himself with people who remind him of Allah. When the adhan is called, they pause their talk and say, "Let's go pray together." When he feels weak, they do not scold him, but say, "We all struggle, but Allah is merciful, don't give up." Over the years, he becomes someone who feels at home in the masjid, someone whose heart is softened by Quran, someone who is carried by the light of companionship that pushes him closer to his Lord. One sister once described her journey of faith. She said, "I thought I was strong enough to keep my deen no matter who I hung out with. But slowly, the people around me shaped what I considered normal. What once shocked me became something I tolerated. And what I tolerated, I eventually participated in. I realized too late that I was becoming a mirror of my friends." Her story is not unique. It is the story of countless souls who underestimate the power of influence, who forget that the heart absorbs more than we realize. This is why Allah warns us in the Quran of those who will cry on the Day of Judgment, "Woe to me! I wish I had not taken so-and-so as a friend." That regret will be heavier than any pain of this dunya, because by then, no second chances remain. But here is the beauty of Allah's mercy. It is not too late right now. If you find yourself in the wrong circle, you are not trapped. You can walk away, even if it hurts, even if it feels lonely at first. Because choosing Allah over people is never a loss. And when you choose to leave behind what harms your faith, Allah replaces it with what nourishes it. I have seen young men who gave up entire friend groups, terrified of the loneliness that would follow, only to later be blessed with companions who changed their lives forever. Brothers who held them accountable in prayer, who encouraged them to pursue knowledge, who gave them hope when they felt lost. Sisters who supported one another through trials, who lifted each other when one fell, who built a bond not based on fashion or trends, but on faith and sincerity. Good company does not only make this dunya easier, it carries you into the akhirah. Imagine standing on the Day of Judgment, trembling as your deeds are weighed, and someone you once prayed with comes forward and says, "Why, Allah, this person reminded me of you. Forgive them." Imagine entering Jannah and being reunited with those who pushed you toward Allah, sitting together in gardens beneath which rivers flow, recalling the moments when you held each other back from sin. What a beautiful reality, that the friendships you choose today could be the very reason you are embraced by Allah's mercy tomorrow. So ask yourself, who are the people that will stand beside you when you are lowered into the grave? Who are the ones who will remember you in their dua after you are gone? Who are the ones who will walk with you on the path of righteousness, not just for a season, but until eternity? Because in the end, it is not about how many people laugh at your jokes, or how many followers like your pictures. It is about who will carry your soul closer to Jannah. And that choice begins with you, here, now, in the quiet realization that your company is your destiny. There is something profoundly moving about the way Islam describes true friendship, the kind of friendship that doesn't just make you laugh, doesn't just make you feel included, but saves your soul when the world around you is pulling you into darkness. It is the type of companionship that holds your hand when you are about to fall, that reminds you of Allah when your heart forgets, that weeps for you in dua when you are not even aware. This is the antidote to peer pressure, the cure for the whispers of society, the protection against the tide that pulls so many into regret. The Prophet said, "The example of a good companion is like a seller of musk. Either he will gift you some, or you will buy from him, or at the very least, you will smell a beautiful fragrance. And the example of a bad companion is like a blacksmith. Either he will burn your clothes, or you will be affected by his smoke." What a vivid picture this is, the fragrance of faith versus the suffocating smoke of sin. Think of a young man struggling with temptation, his peers mocking him for not joining them at a party, his heart heavy because he feels alone. Then a brother from the masjid calls him and says, "Come, let's pray Isha together, then we'll grab some tea." That small gesture changes everything. Suddenly, he doesn't feel like an outsider anymore. He feels valued, seen, supported. The salah uplifts him, the conversation calms him, the laughter shared afterward strengthens him. What could have been a night of regret becomes a night of blessing, all because of the company he chose to keep. There is a story often told of a man who was once addicted to sin, trapped by the people around him who encouraged it, until he met a righteous friend who never judged him, who only reminded him of Allah with gentleness. That friend would send him reminders, invite him to gatherings of knowledge, walk with him to the mosque, and remind him that Allah's mercy is greater than any mistake. Over time, the man's life transformed, not through harshness, not through arguments, but through the steady presence of a companion who pulled him toward light. This is the power of good company. It doesn't always demand immediate change, but it plants seeds of goodness in your heart until one day they blossom into sincerity. And sometimes, good company is not only about what they give you in this life, it is about what they will mean for you in the next. Imagine standing on the day of judgment, trembling as your deeds are weighed, feeling uncertain about your fate. Suddenly, a friend calls out, "Ya Allah, this person reminded me of you, this person prayed with me, this person helped me hold onto my deen, please grant them Jannah with me." And because of that intercession, because of the bond you built for Allah's sake, your place in paradise is secured. Is there any greater companionship than one that doesn't just make this dunya easier but pulls you into eternity with hope? On the other hand, the absence of good company can be devastating. A sister once shared how she felt alone in her faith at university, surrounded by people who encouraged harem relationships and mocked modesty. She said, "I started doubting myself. I wondered if I was too strict, too old-fashioned. But then I met a group of sisters who wore hijab proudly, who loved Allah openly, and who supported each other. Suddenly, I didn't feel weak anymore. Their strength became my strength." That is the essence of good company. It shields you from despair, it builds resilience in your heart, it makes you believe that obedience to Allah is not only possible but beautiful. The Quran speaks of believers who will say in Jannah, "Are we not with our companions?" And they will look for those they loved in the dunya, and by Allah's mercy, they will be reunited. That is what makes choosing the right company so urgent. It is not only about who makes you laugh today, but about who you want standing beside you tomorrow when eternity begins. So ask yourself, who are the people you call your friends? Do they remind you of Allah or distract you from Him? Do they push you toward the masjid or toward places of sin? Do they lift your heart with reminders of the Quran, or do they burden it with whispers of temptation? Friendship is not neutral. It is either a rope pulling you upward or a chain dragging you down. That is why Islam emphasizes choosing companions wisely. Because when the noise of the crowd fades, when the temptations of the dunya lose their shine, it will be those sincere friends, those rare gems, who stand beside you, guiding you back to the path of Allah with love, patience, and unwavering loyalty. My brothers and sisters, the people around you are not just filling your time, they are shaping your destiny. Every word they whisper, every invitation they extend, every step you take with them is either leading you closer to Jannah or dragging you toward Jahannam. That is not an exaggeration. That is reality. This is why you cannot afford to be careless. You cannot afford to say, "It's just a friend, it doesn't matter." It matters. It matters because a friend is either the reminder of Allah or the distraction from Him. A friend is either your shield on the day of judgment or your regret. A friend is either your fragrance or your smoke. So choose wisely. Choose urgently. Choose today. Do not delay. Do not wait until you are broken to realize the damage. Do not wait until your heart is too heavy to seek healing. Do not wait until the day of judgment to discover you walked with the wrong crowd. Surround yourself with those who make you better. Surround yourself with those who remind you of Salah, who inspire you to give charity, who speak of Allah with love, who pull you back when you slip. Surround yourself with the people who want to meet you not just here, but in Jannah. And remember this, peer pressure fades, but pure companionship lasts forever. The crowd will move on, but true friends will remain by your side in this life and the next. So ask yourself tonight, who do I want calling my name on the day when every soul will be desperate for salvation? That answer is the mirror of your destiny. Because at the end of it all, it is simple. Your company is your future. Choose them, and you are choosing your forever.